Okay, so now we are back to chapter 5. We're dealing with the scientific notation. And so with the scientific notation, it has a certain form. And so A times 10 to the n power, where the absolute value of A is between 1 and 10, can be equal to 1, and n is an integer. And so basically, I guess a good way for the scientific notation, I mean, using scientific notation is a way to write really big numbers or really small numbers. Okay, so if you think about A being a single digit, if it's not single digit between 1 and 10, then it's not in scientific notation. So you want to make sure that A is between 1 and 10. So it's a matter of moving the decimal in the right spot so that the portion A is between 1 and 10. So for the first one, we want to write in expanded form, okay? And your book will use the term ordinary numbers, okay? Write as an ordinary number. So basically, if you have 4.25 times 10 to the 5th. Now, first of all, this is in standard notation. Why? Because A is between 1 and 10. So that's in scientific notation. It says 10 to an integer power. So I want to write this out in expanded form. So basically, your exponent will tell you which direction to move your decimal. Okay, this is a positive 5. So I'll move my decimal 5 places to the right. Okay, so when I do that, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My decimal will be behind. Fill in with zeros, and this is your number. This is your big number, okay? So 4.25 times 10 to the 5th power is another way of saying 425,000, okay? All right, here, this time, it says 4.25 times 10 to the negative 5. So I'm going to move my decimal to the left 5 places. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I had to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So some put 0 in front, 0.1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4, 2, 5. Okay? And so if you notice here, this is a positive 5. This is a big number. This is a negative 5. This is a small number. Okay? But if you're going to expanded form, your exponent told you which direction to move your decimal point. Now, going the other way, when you're writing in a standard, from expanded form or ordinary numbers to scientific notation, the thinking is kind of backwards. So here, my decimal is here behind the 0. If you don't see it, this is a comma behind the 0. So I would have to move it where? Okay, again, A has to be between 1 and 10. So I would have to move it between the 4 and the 2. I have to move it here. So that's 4.2 times 10 to what power? Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. I moved 4 to the left, but would that be 10 to the negative 4? Now, if it's 10 to the negative 4, that means it's a small number. This is not a small number. So this would be a positive 4, okay? So again, this is just another way. This is scientific notation because 10 to the 4th, okay, is a big number. That's saying, 4 zeros, okay? That's 10,000 times 4.2 gives you the 4,200, okay? So scientific notation for 42,000 would be 4.2 times 10 to the 4th power. All right, now here, this is a very small number, okay? So what do we need to move this decimal to? Good, we need to move between the 1 and the 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1.4 times 10. Now, what power do we put it to? It's a small number. Good, negative 4. Very good. And so that's dealing with the scientific notation. All right, so let's move and look at the engineering notation. And let's see what See how they differ. All right, so this is the engineering notation. Again, we're dealing with the A times 10 to the n power. However, the A for engineering notation, okay, will be the absolute value of A is between 1 and 1,000. Okay, it can be less than or equal to 1, but less than 1,000. Okay, and n is an integer, but also n is either 0 or it's a multiple of 3. So it's one or the other, so 0 or multiple of 3. So it has to be a multiple of 3, okay, or 0. So now we have to change to engineering notation. Okay, all right, so here we have 2.5 million. Okay, all right, so we want to change that to engineering notation. Remember that A can be between 1 and 1,000. Okay, so here we need to move this. What do we need to move it to? So if we move it 1, 2, 3, 4, couldn't stop at 4, right? 5, can I stop at 5? Nope. So because 5 is not a multiple of 3. 6, so I have to go all the way here. So it's 2.5 times 10 to the 6th power. Okay, you couldn't stop at 4. You couldn't stop at 5. You had to go to 6. All right, now here, this is 0.25. Okay, so I need to move my decimal. Okay, so like if I move it 1, that's not a multiple of 3. Okay, so if I move it 2, that's not a multiple of 3. So I can move it a third time. So that's a multiple 3. 3 is a multiple of 3. See? So that's 250, which is still between 1 and 1,000, correct? Times 10, and then what do you think I put? Do I put positive 3 or negative 3? Small number, so negative 3, very good. Okay, so you see it, see that? That's dealing with the engineering notation. Similar to, scientific, but it has its own form. A is between 1 and 1,000, but the n has to be either 0 or a multiple of 3. Okay, and then right, so divisible. Okay, 3 has to be able to go into it. I'll say that. We'll say that because 3 can go into a negative also. So it can be a negative or positive. All right, so hopefully that this is clear to you. So what you're going to be asked to do is the following assignment. On page 262 of your textbook. And do problems 1, 4, 6, 10, 14, 18, 23, 25, 28, and 38 due by next class. There are 10 problems. Okay, so we'll be graded. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, have a good day.